When I became governor in 2019, we didn't have Bidenflation. We didn't have it in 2020. It wasn't until they got in there and cranked the printing presses, borrowed too much money.
That was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at a campaign event last week. Listening to DeSantis on the campaign trail, you sometimes wonder who he's running against, Charlie Crist or Joe Biden. Is it a foreshadow of campaigns to come? That's one of the questions I asked Herald editorial page editor Nancy Ancrum and Steve Bousquet of the Sentinel, but I started by asking, if DeSantis wins Florida, and everything suggests that he will that mean Florida is no longer a swing state?
Well, I think so, without question, if that's how it goes next Tuesday, a big if. But yes, I would say so. The one caveat there, of course, is this real oddity, which is that, you know, because of who Ron DeSantis is in every national conversation about 2024 and will be for some time. As we've all seen, the media, it fixates on this tension between DeSantis and Donald Trump, and rightfully so. But you're right. You know, on every election night, going back 2 decades, Florida is in that conversation. Florida is down there on the southeastern coast, always brightly lit in these cable news channels' maps, because we're in play. We're an important state. You have to go back to the re-election of Jeb Bush in 2002 over Bill McBride to get a race that one-sided. I mean, so that's another potential thing here that's really creating a new political norm in Florida, maybe a governor's race that isn't going to be close unless Charlie Crist has an incredible surprise up his sleeve.
Right, look at the ramifications of that. Already, national Democratic donors are writing off this state. Money is not flowing in from across the country the way it has when we were considered purple. Should we move solidly into the red zone, that too is going to really affect any other statewide Democratic candidate seeking office.
Well, let's look at some of those local races. Steve, Nancy, talk to me a little bit about the state Senate races, the state House races. I think that Ron DeSantis, and especially if Dade County goes from blue to red, I think that rising tide of that DeSantis victory could cost Democrats seats that they normally would win in this cycle.
Absolutely. What could happen, what looks like it very well could happen, and we've editorialized about it and warned people of the risks involved, which is that the Republicans get supermajorities in both the state House and the state Senate. And what does that mean? It basically means that they can, now they own the clock. At least the Democrats had a modicum of ability to slow down the Republican juggernaut, ask questions, force debate, slow down amendments. But when you get to a supermajority, basically 2/3 of the membership is one party. First of all, that in my opinion, that's just terrible for democracy. I'll say the same thing about, that Broward County is basically dominated by one party locally. That's not a good thing. There's got to be some balance restored to government here. And I'm talking about reasonable Republicans, not MAGA people. But if the Republicans get supermajorities in both houses, now they own the clock and they can do whatever they want. They can waive the rules at will. And we're going to see some really ugly stuff in Tallahassee as a result.
Nancy, you want to pick up on any of that?
Yeah, I agree. One thing I wanted to bring up is that one of the Republicans' MO this year has been to not talk to what they call legacy media. None of the Republican candidates responded to us. Some did respond and basically said no. Maria Elvira Salazar told us during the primaries that I'll talk to you for the general, but no, she did not. And so they have decided to cut out the middleman. They will go to friendly media, but they're cutting off. The shame of it is, I think Steve and I do what we do on behalf of the communities that we cover. When we do deep dive into candidates, deep dive into issues, ask the tough questions of candidates, But we didn't get a chance to do that. They did not want us to ask the tough questions. They did not want to have to defend their records. And so they just cut us out. And I think that is a shame. And I think that that, too, is so damaging to our democracy.
So Nancy Ancrum's point about the candidates ignoring us, legacy media, we're still here. We will still be here. But what I see happening is, and what voters should be concerned about is, today it's the Miami Herald and the Sun Sentinel. Tomorrow, in the next cycle, they'll be blowing off the League of Women Voters. They'll blow off their local civic associations because, legacy media sends reporters to these candidates' nights to listen to the candidates talk. So we've reached this new place, this very, very dark and foreboding place in Florida politics where you have now, as you say, major party ghost candidates heavily funded by special interests favored to win, completely running outside the news media.
All right, let's check in again with CBS 4's Terry Hornstein. She is live at the Miami-Dade County Fairgrounds, where former President Donald Trump will hold a rally later today. And Terry, just to be clear, this is a rally for Senator Marco Rubio and some local Republican candidates. Governor DeSantis, who the former president is now dubbing DeSanctimonious, is not expected to be there, is he?
Yeah, that's right, Jim. Governor DeSantis will, in fact, not be here. And this is a very stark contrast from years ago when the two appeared to be allies, even campaigning together, supporting a lot of the same policy. But with a lot of talk about both of them running for the Republican ticket in 2024, things have changed. Although neither of them has really announced whether or not they'll do so, they definitely have distanced themselves from each other in recent months, in recent years, trying to create that space for what potentially could be a run for both of them. So out here today, we talked to a lot of people, and of course, this is what's being called a Trump rally, despite it being for support for a lot of the local Republican candidates. A lot of these people are fans of President Trump, former President Trump. And, they say, we talked to them about who they'd like to see run for president in 2024. And they say, well, of course, Donald Trump. But listen to what they had to say.
I believe that Trump definitely needs to be in office to finish out what he finished, and DeSantis needs to focus on Florida.
I'm loyal to Trump, and he's shown what he can do for us in the United States. And DeSantis has shown what he can do for Florida, and I voted for DeSantis. But for the president, I would vote for Trump.
So Governor DeSantis will hold an event on the west coast of Florida today. Donald Trump to take the stage at 5 p.m. Jim?
Thanks, Terry. Should be a rollicking event. When we come back, we'll take another look at today's forecast and your Election Day forecast as well. Stay with us.